Hi, everyone. Happy November. We are officially in the holiday seasons. Thanksgiving is next week. Christmas is coming, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. And then also the new year is fast approaching. So because November has been a lot in its own with the presidential election and other life events that are happening, we thought it'd be important first to just hold space to acknowledge the changes that have been made before we delve into today's topic on hope throughout the holidays.
Okay.
So how are we all doing?
How are we doing? Struggling along, struggling along.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be an interesting season for all of us, regardless of what we believe. And I think it's scary to watch the world just show a lack of value for Black women and a lack of value for people of differences, not even just Black women. And it just looks very scary. But at the same time, especially since we're talking hope, there's this reality that, you know, as our ancestors have taught us so many great things around resilience, that if we can utilize them in a way that is healthy, we can get through anything together. And I think that's gonna be an important thing to remember, because it's gonna get tough.
I think also just breaking those like historical and just old patterns of feeling like, even though I'm hurting right now or I'm having big feelings right now, I have to continue to do. And I remember having a conversation with Sharea right after the election, and you just said to me like, do nothing, like give yourself permission to do nothing at this moment. Like, don't feel like you gotta do some kind of movement or some kind of protest or some kind of like cancel it, like just do nothing. And that was freeing, because it's like you feel like, no, I'm conditioned and I'm taught that no matter what's going on for me, push through and like be active. So get something, like get on it, do something. So that was important, and a message that I'm now giving to all of you. Give yourself permission to do nothing.
Absolutely.
That's a really big point, especially because I feel like during, like, once the election came out, I saw a lot of different like, tweets and posts, and some people are just sitting in their sadness, and others are saying, oh, like, the best way to combat this is to just jump back in, like, continue the work and the activism. And it's like, what if we just rest for a moment?
Yeah,
what if we just
absolutely.
acknowledge what has happened and then take a vacation, like do something to just like calm down, get away from it all before we jump back into the work. So I think that's really important.
And there's,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, because it becomes this, you know, and I think it's true, like it becomes this thing that we think we have to do. But what we forget is that it's gonna be there to do, right? And if you aren't doing that in a place where you have grieved, where you have rested, where you have gotten yourself a chance to say, how do I wanna impact this next 4 years? Then you're also setting yourself up for burnout. You're setting yourself up for even less hope, because it's gonna be at a place where you're drained. And so even then it's harder for you to be able to even decide how to do something more and how it will be impactful or even feel that it's impactful. So I think, you know, rest, permission to give yourself a break, take the vacations, and not just gotta get out there and protest and do, and those things are going to be needed. However, there's also gonna be a need to be prepared to be able to even sustain it.
Right.
It's 4 years, a long year.
Completely.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, just having intentionality behind it, other than it being fueled by emotion. So allowing yourself the space and the grace to feel it and then prepare. Because I know, like, I also saw like a lot of tweets and a lot of posts like, we're canceling this person, don't ask me to do nothing, I'm not helping, not nobody, and that's fine. That's how you feel. But I think it was an impulsive reaction, rather than like allowing yourself, like, I am angry and I do feel devalued once again, and I do feel overlooked once again. And now what do I do? Like, not because of this, but now I have the reality, like it's back in reality of what it is. Like this fairy tale that's pictured, like it was cute.
Well, I think you wanted to believe and you want hope. In a lot of ways, hope is this sense that you want better and different sometimes, not even just better, but different than what we've always been given and presented with. And I think the reality that you're talking about is devastating because it reminds you of the value that a whole entire country has for you based off of your identity. And so I think when it comes down to it, that reality check requires us to kind of need to rest, to take the break, to take the mindful intention to say me first for a second, because you are reminded that your value is beneath others in the eyes of so many communities. Because even if you look at it from the perspective of who did vote or who didn't vote, all of it still equates to the value of what you think could be in terms of hope.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we're also talking more from the perspective of like trying to fight, but there's also the opposite where people pull back. And in their mind, like this is where the hopelessness comes in of, I did my part, I tried already, the world still showed me that I don't matter, so now I'm going to like completely give up. Where, yeah, like it's important to sit with the hopelessness, but don't let it consume you, because we will continue to grow, we will continue to fight or to strive for better.
And that's external validation, right? So even when something like this reminds you of what they think of you, it does not equate to what your value truly is. And I think a lot of the external validation that we get from, say, being seen or being heard or being told that we're good enough cannot be the thing that keeps us to know that we're good enough, right? Because it'll never, and I don't want to sound hopeless, it'll never be anyone outside of us that will ever see us fully as enough. And not to say that the society can't change in time, I hope that it does. But the reality is that my value can never come from an external source, specifically systems that have been in place to not see me. So
completely.
So I agree, don't let this hopelessness become how you see you and your community, because no, this is a reflection of the community, the larger identity of this community, which has always been racist, which has always been misogynist, which always is transphobic, homophobic, which has always been those things. Now I can internalize that as the truth for me. Like I refuse to do that.
Yeah. Only God knows what's to come, but
Absolutely.
I have hope.
Yeah.
In some ways. So I hope that as you're watching this, you're also able to pause and to reflect for yourself on how you've been coping since the election. And if you are feeling more hopeless, I hope that this also gives you some strong hope as well. All right, so we've been using this word hopelessness quite a lot so far. So I want to take a moment to define it for us. Hopelessness is a profound emotional state that's characterized by feelings of despair, futility, and a lack of expectation that positive outcomes are possible. It's often marked by loss of motivation or purpose. So this belief that efforts to change or improve circumstances are pointless. There's also pervasive negativity where we focus so much on the negative thoughts about the present and about the future. Also, it comes with emotional distress where we're feeling sad, we're feeling despair, we're feeling overwhelmed by our challenges. Also, just cognitive distortions, which are thinking patterns that exaggerate the likelihood of failure or disappointment. And lastly, also physical symptoms, which include fatigue, changes in appetite, or sleep disturbances that often accompany our emotional states.
That's a whole lot right there, all of that. Look, all of that. If you think about it, like you literally just did like almost a checklist. And in a lot of ways when we're dealing with things, because I initially was thinking like grief, like this hopelessness and this loss and this large level of loss that you think things aren't ever gonna get, and you literally could have done a checklist with that list in terms of the different ways it may show up. And it really just the core being that you're having this hopelessness in you and having to be able to change those things over to hope within reality, right? Because it doesn't change the reality, but how do we maintain through it?
And that even goes back to the word that Alexis used of intentionality, of being really mindful of these different aspects that are being impacted right now, and then being intentional about how to target those things in your day-to-day.
If not, it'll impact you way past this moment.
Yeah.
And that's my fear for a lot of the like methods that people are using in social media, I see, and I'm just like, oh, take a break. If you don't
Yeah.
take this break now,
Yeah.
then preparation for a real fight
Yeah.
is gonna be even harder.
Mhm.
So the long-term impact is just as bad sometimes which is why you need the rest.
Mhm.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
It makes me think about the people that were jumping on Twitter, like sending hate towards other groups. Oh, like Hispanic men or Hispanic women,
It's like,
immigration. It's like, you're not helping the situation.
Like, calm down, they gonna change what's going on.
Like,
We're here together.
Yeah. Seriously, like reverse racism or the anger, or,
Yeah.
like, it's not gonna help.
Mhm.
Sit with it. Yeah, so now I wanted to talk a bit more about triggers for hopelessness, especially during the
Sit with it.
holidays.
Hold on for just a quick second.
Mhm.
Throw it back. Nobody wanna sit with it. Cause this country has taught you not to have to sit with it by the methods that they jump right back. Like that immediate response is like, nobody ever really wants to sit with their emotions as a whole in this country.
Mhm.
Especially because it feels like you're being like, it's like you're not being heard.
Yeah.
But in reality, the reason why you don't sit with it is because you're uncomfortable with navigating emotions.
Mhm.
You're uncomfortable with navigating emotions that feel like they're out of your control, because this one was out of our control. So even no matter what, it was out of your control, but the response to it, be it sadness, devastation, you gotta sit for a second, because if not, you're gonna do things like, oh, that group one, you did 2.5 votes over. It's like, oh, okay, so now that you've done that, is it going to resolve the reality of the devastation? It's not, it just created more energy that's towards negativity or
Yeah.
harm.
Mhm.
So, yeah, because
Yeah.
people were on it, I was like,
Oh, goodness.
I was like, y'all ain't exhausted already? Like, it only been 2 days. I'm like, I'm going back to sleep. Like, I deal with my devastation in my.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, also, sorry, it's unrelated, but you said the word ancestors, and I thought about this tweet again that I saw. Someone said, was it me or what, like the ancestors wake us all up at 3 a.m. And I woke up at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Did y'all wake up
I
at
was
3 a.m.?
up, I was around that time. I
Mhm.
did, I was up around.
It was
Mhm.
crazy, like I just woke up.
That
and
was true,
3.
like, I didn't see the tweet, but it was like 3 something.
Mhm.
Cause at first I was like, I'm not gonna even do it until tomorrow.
Mhm. Just
But
woke right up. And a lot of Black people were agreeing, like, yeah, I woke
That's
up at
crazy,
around
but-
3 a.m.
yeah, cause I actually woke, like, my husband is usually up at 4 anyway, 4
Mhm.
something. But I woke up and was like, I don't wanna know,
Mhm.
but, and then I just was like, we gotta check. at least, 'cause
Yeah.
I'm up.
I checked, went back to sleep.
Then I checked and I was like, I should just stay asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
was like, I knew it, but whatever.
Interesting, yeah.
So yes, I did.
Yeah.
I was one of the.
That was one of the people that woke.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that there was I didn't,
didn't
until you just said
either.
that, I didn't know that.
I thought it was just me. Like my friends were also awake around that time,
Mhm.
but a lot of people were like, yeah, I just woke up
Yeah.
randomly.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's crazy.
Yeah. It's trauma.
Yeah, right?
Actually trauma.
The trauma went through the whole body.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about generational trauma and ancestral trauma where it's like, oh, we gotta wake up because this might freedom time. No, the freedom light went off. Like everybody was like, wait, whoa, who turned the light off?
Seriously. Yeah.
That is crazy. I didn't know that. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So sorry, back to the triggers. Triggers
Stay
for
with us, stay with
hopelessness,
us.
honestly. During the holidays. So one is kind of what we're talking about, which is systemic oppression and discrimination. Facing racism, sexism, and microaggressions in daily life, workplaces, or social settings. And also just the cumulative impact of structural inequities such as disparities in healthcare, pay, and education.
Life.
That's our, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jobs, employment, everything.
Mhm. It's a lot. And especially during the holidays where everyone is so chirpy and happy. And it's just like, I don't feel that because life is hitting right now.
Mhm.
And a lot of the things may not even be related to the election,
Mhm.
right? Because the reality of navigating systems is all year long for us. And so then during this time when you're supposed to be cheery and having a celebration of the spirit for the month or for the next few months, what happens is that you just don't see the need
Right.
because it hasn't changed your circumstances or your situation. So it becomes this feeling of like another reminder.
Mhm. Yeah. Next, for Black women especially, is this expectation of being the strong Black woman. So the pressure to always appear resilient and self-sufficient often leads to emotional suppression and just not being able to acknowledge or feel supported. So the emotional toll of maintaining this facade can be a lot.
And I think it's stressing that word resilience does not equate to not having rest, does not equate to not being able to take the space and be intentional. I think we've defined resilience as taking it all on and meaning that we can bounce back from anything and still have it all on us. And I think that definition, and I think it would be good if we all could come up with a definition that didn't require us to labor every situation for every person in our lives, every person in our community, every person in our systems. I think it would be really good to come up with resilience that included us.
Yeah.
Right? That really gave us the sense of we belong in rest, we belong in happiness, we belong in joy. Like, I think resilience, how people see it, is just that, the strong Black woman. Let's get a cape on and make sure these kids are good. That kid's good, but I haven't slept in months.
Right.
You know, so I think it would be good if we could just agree that resilience doesn't equate to having to labor ourselves to death.
Right.
Like, I just want that agreement for all of us, please. I'm agreeing on it.
Yeah, I am.
Agreeing on it. I just don't feel like it's done us any service as Black women in any world, like any part of the world, because it's traditionally that is the garb of all of us. And so people start to expect it from us.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I'm good. Y'all, we good. Y'all can have this fight.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I'm gonna take a rest.
Even when I complain about things and my friends are like, no, you're soft. I'm like, no, I'm not soft. I am actually weak.
Yeah.
Or no, you're strong. I'm like, no, I'm not strong. I'm soft. Like, I'm actually weak. I need support.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that makes me strong. And my weakness and your weakness.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
like, is that not a thing?
It might-
Like,
Yeah.
but it's not allowed for Black women to see themselves as soft or weak, when that is an offense, when in reality, every other woman especially,
Serious.
every other woman is allowed those curves or those passes that we just don't, we don't allow ourselves, but others don't allow it either.
Completely.
So yes, be soft, be weak,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Or even with having the strong Black woman trope, but then also having the expectation in relationships to be soft. And it's so like, you
It's
want me to have
Turn this off.
dual, like I have to have a dual personality or play dual roles simultaneously. Cause it's like, I'm not set up to have some of these privileges that other communities are allowed to have, but then you want these certain characteristics at the same time, and that's draining.
Well, yeah, because anytime you have to live a dual life that isn't what you want to do, it's draining.
Yeah.
But I also think it's funny how like that only comes up for Black women when it specifically looks at this strength and this resilience.
Right.
Like, other women can say, I'm really gonna take a break, and nobody bashes them or thinks low or different of them, right? Because even if they don't say it, it's how they make us feel,
Right.
right? Because I don't think people are gonna say directly to us, except our friends, because you know, even we will say some mean stuff to each other, except our friends, right? I don't think other communities would say, well, no, y'all can't, you should rest, I'll take it up for you. No, they're thinking, oh, the fight is on, y'all gotta get in the fight, y'all not in our back, you're not backing us now. And it's like, wait, I don't, look, I gotta back you, my community, I gotta pick up everybody, kids, pick it up. Give me a minute. Like, and I think for me, this is like, that's been my thing over this last couple weeks. Give me a minute. Like, I don't know what that minute means. I just know that right now I'm not trying to pick up y'all stuff to try to make you feel better.
Completely.
Sorry.
No, that's
We all in this places, but I wanted to say something. I'm talking like I'm gonna go way off subject, so I'll stop.
It might come back actually. It might. The next thing here is financial struggles. And this is just facing economic challenges such as wage gaps, which is systemic, being in debt, which a lot of us are, or the pressure to support extended family as well.
Came right back there.
Yeah.
Who else do I gotta pay for? And also feeling the guilt of it, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the financial part is not so much just about what you don't have, it's what you can't give,
Mhm.
right? For the holidays, I think this is why one of the reasons I stopped celebrating any holiday was it became more about what it looks like than what it was really meaning. And then not just these holidays during the giving times, but just in general. And I feel like a lot of that becomes this guilt for parents, this guilt for mothers who may not be able to afford what other parents can afford, to have to get in debt to show it, so to show others that their kids can have these things.
Yeah.
And for me, it just became like, and this is personal, it's not like a religious reason or nothing. It's just strictly, I just don't align with the fact that people have to one time a year show up and or show off their income that they may not even be able to have.
Right.
And then it puts kids or families in the position that don't really have to either pretend and go into debt, or to be obvious that they don't have what everyone else has.
Right.
It just doesn't feel equitable to me that that holidays have become more about.
It's really commodified. It's like
Yeah.
everyone it's all about money, it's all about flash. It's less about family time and like intimacy.
Quantity, like
Yeah.
it's quantity over quality.
Yeah.
For sure, because you'll have the social media posts where you have like a tree with bazillion
Oh my
gifts
goodness.
under it, and for all you know, they empty boxes.
No,
But
They are.
you're like, oh man, like my child only has this one thing, so
Yeah.
now you're going into debt to buy something else because toys is skyrocketing high. So you're going into debt to buy something else, or even for Thanksgiving, it's like, oh, like it's not enough to have an entree and two sides. It's like, no, I gotta have a feast.
So then
So
I can show it on.
I gotta go get lamb chops and like, and those, I'm not, hating on any of those things. But if they are above your means and you're doing it just so that people can say, oh, she had the oxtails out and shit. It's like,
Yeah, and going into real debt.
yeah.
Which causes a level of stress and hopelessness all on its own, right? Because the debt that you hold becomes a guilt that you hold because of that debt.
Right.
That's ongoing. So that moment becomes this long-term impact for your mental health, because I can't imagine if you are paying off what you bought in December, in June,
Right.
how good it must feel,
Yeah.
you know?
And then the next holiday comes right back around.
Exactly, because it's and you didn't miss birthdays. And you
Right,
didn't miss,
that's what I'm saying, thinking of
the
the
stuff didn't stop.
right, the aftermath that life goes on beyond December. So now we can't go on vacation because I'm paying for that bike.
Or if you do, I'm so far in
Yeah,
debt,
now more
or
in
getting
debt.
further in debt.
Yeah.
So these are all, I don't know what, is this for us to know what kind of hopelessness means? Oh, during the holidays. Lord, these are definitely like.
Yeah, they're depressing.
Yeah, and just hearing them, like,
Yeah.
and you see how they become like these long-term
Yeah.
patterns. Like, I'm like, wow, you bought something in December and life kept lifing. And now it's January, February, March, and you're still paying it off
Yeah.
if you even can,
Yeah.
depending on what it is that you bought.
Yeah, I mean, even going to the next one that really does impact a lot of Black women is caregiving burdens. So balancing roles as caregivers for children, partners, parents, or community members, and just feeling emotionally exhausted by being relied upon as the pillar of the family and the community.
Absolutely. And I think, coming to this one, I don't know if we're gonna say it, but to me, this is also, for me, it's grief as a result of that lack of caregiving anymore, right? Because even that reminds me that my mother's not here. That reminds me that my sister's not here. So even the trigger, and for the holidays specifically, my mother was really so I stopped celebrating way before she passed, so I didn't do it though. But my mother was really into Christmas. So as much as Christmas is this great thing, it's also a reminder of such a large loss, because she would deck out. No, I'm not doing none of that. I did that for like 1 year trying to memorialize. And I was like, Mama, I love you, but this ain't me. Right? Because you go through that. But at the end of the day, the reminder is that she's not here. So it's like the caregiving also is the loss that you might have as a person who was a caregiver. I think about some of my girlfriends who are currently caregiving for their parents and how much work they've done even up until this moment, and how much loss they've had in terms of relationships, not even the parent themselves, but not being able to go out, not being able to do things. It's a lot of pressure to even be able to take care of yourself while you're caring for other people. So and for Black women, again, this becomes our role within the families
Yeah.
Yeah.
as well. Because it's also, I mean, culturally, it's also expected of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's brought up, but
No, that's perfect.
yeah,
I knew grief would come up, so.
that's the same.
Yeah. Another one is just lack of representation and visibility. And this is around feeling unseen or undervalued in leadership roles, media, and broader societal narratives. And just underrepresentation of self-worth and that sense of belonging. Yeah.
In general,
Mhm.
like, and it's the holidays, but that's all year long for us.
Yeah.
And I think about it from the perspective, I'm working with an agency who is getting ready to hire a CEO that's a Black woman, and the things that they're preparing already show me that she's gonna come right into drama. She's gonna come right into trauma that says that I gotta fix it, that I gotta be the one to be the hard, what is it? The one to put the hammer down,
Mhm.
right? So there's things that even without knowing, you're waiting on or preparing and setting up this Black woman to do the stuff that you should have been doing way
Mhm.
before she even started. But it becomes, now that's the only way I see you.
Yeah.
I don't see that you should be able to come easily into a position like other professionals, or come into a position that was the highest of it and not have to do the same type of labor that you would do if you were in middle management or
Right.
even not management.
Mhm.
So it's like your visibility in areas like work, career, business ownership, right? All of those things start to be like exhausting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cause then you're also, we can also take it down to our micro level where it comes to our families and our conversations, or if you've asked for something for the last 30 months around hearing me, communicating right, and then all of a sudden, it's like our relationship is over, depending on the type, friendship, intimacy, anything.
Yeah.
So I think so many areas we have to, as Black women, always deal with not being seen
Mhm.
and not being heard, but then having the expectation on the other side to
Being, yeah.
carry it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really hopeless.
We're only halfway.
Like, oh my goodness.
To breeze through some of
But think
these.
about this, like,
Yeah.
imagine, even if we didn't say one for each of us,
Yeah.
imagine just carrying one of these.
Yeah.
The weight of it, and and I'm not gonna just speak for them, I'll speak for myself. I could have said yes to multiple ones already.
Yeah.
And so imagine every day as a Black woman having to navigate at least two of these and
Right.
expecting to be good.
Mhm.
Like, it's hard. It's hard.
It's
out in these
hard.
streets.
Seriously. I mean,
No, but like listening to them, I'm like, damn, we
yeah. It's a lot.
forget resilience. Let's all just graduate to a nap.
Let's rest.
All take it down.
Honestly. I mean, the next one Sharea touched on, which is trauma and unresolved grief. So just personal or generational trauma related to race, gender, or family history, the loss of loved ones, or the impact of systemic violence on Black communities.
Mhm.
Next is an important one, which is health inequities. So people who are struggling with physical and mental health issues due to limited access to quality healthcare, and even just higher rates of stress-related illnesses such as hypertension, depression, or anxiety for Black women.
Absolutely. When it hits us hard.
Mhm.
That's how, like, so which is why I think even with the election, it automatically devastates us, because we know that if this country goes through things, that means we're really gonna go through things.
Mhm.
So,
And then we looked at as, and also fix it.
yeah, exactly. Do all of that,
Mhm.
but live through it.
Mhm. Without the recognition and acknowledging it, but fix it.
And even thinking about, especially post-election, for people like us, we work in this space where it's 3 Black women, like we're a community. But imagine a Black woman who's dealing with the devastation of the election, going into a corporate or predominantly white space, where she already knows that her counterparts probably voted
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.
and are now looking at her like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it? And it's just like,
And it's
so weird.
condescending.
Yeah.
Because you really don't wish me well
Mhm.
just by the vote that you chose, even whether you believe that or not. Because people may believe that they're doing something that is about what their beliefs are, not harming another, but your beliefs are also intolerant,
Mhm.
right?
Or I think even people who, even if for people who voted for Kamala, but now they feel as though like, oh, I have to show you, I do support you. So it's like, this blue bracelet movement. Like, I don't care. I'm not looking at your wrist to see if you're an ally. That's not help. Like, that's not doing anything for me.
Yeah.
That's
It's
doing
a,
something for you.
it's
Which
an
again goes
advocate.
to the problem of white fragility and then always having to have that, like, I need to feel like we're okay.
I need to make you feel.
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, well, I think it's the lady out of New York, Roxanne Gay or Roxanne. She was talking maybe 2 weeks ago, right after election, maybe right before. I'm not certain because it's all blending this together now. But she was talking about how even that concept of being an ally
Mhm.
really comes down to, are you really seeing me as less than you?
Mhm.
And really seeing me as not really capable when you really should be coming alongside me,
Right.
right? Which means that you don't have an expectation that I feel exactly what you feel, but you know this is wrong.
Mhm.
I don't really see the point of the ribbons or whatever. If you know you did, you did,
Mhm.
right? And honestly, it's not gonna make or break the fact that the world we living in right now says
Right.
it didn't matter,
The results.
right? So it stops centering you
Mhm.
and it starts to center the issues that we really have to deal with as a whole,
Mhm.
right? Because I don't need to be trans to be able to be alongside to say this is wrong,
Mhm.
right? And to be able to do that without having to say, well, see, I'm with you.
Right.
Like, no, I'm
And
with you because
here's the symbol.
human.
Here's a hootie hoo.
Yeah. So it's like, are you coming alongside these communities or are you
Mhm.
trying to show the community that I got you?
Right.
You really don't got me because I shouldn't have to even have this conversation.
Mhm.
That's all it's.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So layered.
Yeah, it is, because it's hard, because I think you really can be alongside, because there are people who are truly alongside our communities related to identity.
Mhm.
They don't really gotta do all that,
Mhm.
because you know that their actions are rocking with you no matter what.
Right.
And I don't care if they're white, if they're straight, I don't care, right? It's none of that, it's just who they are and who they believe, right? Like, I don't really need all this ribbon stuff. To me, that's centering you.
Exactly. It's about you.
Yeah. And I'm already tired.
Mhm.
Right.
So I don't have time to go like this.
Yeah.
But-
Good job.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just trying to get home within the rain.
So the last two things that triggers for hopelessness during the holidays are social isolation and lack of support. So feeling disconnected from others due to stigma, shame, or the lack of safe spaces to share some vulnerabilities. And even the challenge of finding culturally attuned mental health or peer support. And lastly, unrealistic expectations during holidays or life milestones. The pressure to create the perfect celebrations or meet societal benchmarks. Even like marriage or home ownership, which are often brought up during the holidays.
Oh my
around
gosh,
family.
yes, I do not look forward to certain, I'm going, yeah, I'm not even gonna go in there, because like, me never wanting children,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how old I get, I still get, are you gonna not do it? It's, you can adopt. I'm like, I told y'all like 18 years ago, it ain't happening.
Mhm.
And this is like, so, yeah, I don't always look forward to like
Yeah.
gatherings, where it's trying to calculate how good I am.
Yeah.
Based off of, I don't even know things I didn't sign up for.
Right. Or even already
Or
feeling
like you
those
said,
things within
homeownership.
yourself. Like, it's cuffing season. So if you
Yeah.
think of it's going to be a new year, and if you were in this place of singleness last year, and it's like it's a reminder, like, here I am again, where everybody got their matching PJs on Instagram, and
That's another.
they got their little gifts they're opening up, or it's proposals happening
Yeah,
for New Year's Eve, and it's like all these things, and it's a reminder, and that this did not happen for me this year, or if there was a breakup, like you thought you were close to the game and you weren't, but I mean, these are things that are very real for people that come up that we don't necessarily always talk about or think about, or create a space for people to say, I am feeling a little way about this right now.
Yeah, without it being a judgment of it. Yeah.
Or like you said, going to gatherings and people say, so when you gonna get married?
It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I just signed up for paper.
It's like write it on my shirt.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a space where it's just like, I'm committed to working on me in this season, and I'm not looking for a mate in this season. So like,
Exactly.
be cool with that, Aunt Bertha. Like,
Yeah.
Do that sound
Be,
further, right?
like, be cool with me with that, like,
But you ain't
and what
lying.
does that mean? Because then you're also hearing a message that you're not enough and you're not whole
Yes.
without this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, so what are you telling me?
Yeah.
You need a blue bracelet.
Okay, ally.
I'm not gonna you're an ally right now.
Exactly. You're sitting there with your stuff and your needs for me. When all I wanted to do was come eat this sandwich and the Thanksgiving meal and move on.
Yeah. Even like being compared to like cousins or siblings,
Mhm.
like so and so has gotten this new job. Are you still working here? And it's just like, okay, but I'm trying to apply for jobs. Like,
Yeah.
it's so many questions and comparisons that just doesn't make it fun during the holidays for some people.
Mhm.
And so it's important for us like to not do that to others, but also
Yeah.
to have boundaries with family or friends when they do that to
Absolutely.
us.
I was
And
gonna say-
putting up your boundaries is important, because sometimes I just leave the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with my friend group, we had to remind ourselves, like, we are now the aunties. So we had to be very mindful of what we're saying to like nieces or cousins who are coming home from college, and it's just like, oh, you putting on a little,
Oh, I hate
you
that.
put a little,
Is that
well,
what
look at
you're
you, we're
saying?
like, you got a little friend up there, or like, what are you doing?
And now you're making all
And-
kinds of assumptions.
Yeah, exactly.
And never once did you ask how I was
Mhm.
doing. Was my mental health even anywhere in that conversation?
And being mindful of that, because we remember what it felt like for that to be done.
Yeah.
And so it's like you sort of, as you age, you don't always realize that you're moving into a new role or title. But we millennials, we are the new aunties.
You
So,
are.
Yeah, we're the auntie.
Oh, I'm past auntie. I'm good.
That's
I stopped. I don't do whatever anyway.
That's
Like,
a
I don't
good
judge
place
people
to
by
be.
where they are in
Mhm.
general, so I don't really. I'm like, whatever you came looking like is what you came looking like. If you happy, I'm happy.
Mhm.
Like, I'm gonna ask you how you doing.
And it's more so
Me?
understanding the
Yeah.
power that we have culturally,
Yeah.
like the
Absolutely.
power that we
As you get
have
older.
when you put on like someone that, because auntie, if I'm sure y'all know auntie, you look up to.
Yeah, self-care
And so like the
professionals.
word, the words, like the weight behind your words, when it's like peer to peer, it's like, oh, okay, that hurt, but like, shut up. But when it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
coming from someone who's just like, wow, like they're looking at you in a different way. Like you have this and you have that.
Yeah, it's looking at you like your value hasn't
Yeah,
gotten there
like
yet,
you're-
or
yes.
you're not good enough. Yeah.
Mhm. So being very mindful of that, because
And it can shape your esteem, how you feel
Mhm.
yourself.
Completely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is also why it's important that as you are becoming aunties, to remember what it felt like, but also just to be mindful that it was never right.
Mhm.
Like, you shouldn't find a way to say it better.
Right.
It should have never been said.
No, it
You
should
know,
be
but-
encouraging and
Yeah.
uplifting. Girl, you're great.
But even that could be
What
hit
are
with
you
the
doing
wrong,
then?
like, if you doing real good and I'm doing not so good,
Mhm.
but I don't know why you wasn't doing good, it could be a whole other feeling for him, right? Versus,
Mhm.
what do you wanna talk about?
Yeah.
Because how about you lead the conversation, because you have enough in your life,
Yeah.
whether it's,
Mhm.
and in some cases, kids, all ages will tell you, and in other cases, they'll be like, nothing. We have to talk about this good food, all right, well, that's what we're gonna talk about,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I think it's a way to be able to let people decide what they want you to see,
Yeah.
versus to kind of put them in a place where they gotta compare themselves, especially in a room full of.
If it's a
loved
mix,
ones.
yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's about proximity. So
Right.
if it is
Mhm.
like a niece or someone that you're close with, I get wanting to check in with them,
Mhm.
as long as you're doing it with love and like pure intention.
Mhm.
And if they're saying, oh, like I struggled, you're not saying, oh, like do better, like.
Yeah.
Right.
It's more so, oh, like what happened?
It's more so,
And
yeah,
that's a
the
conversation we
follow-up.
should be having together,
Yeah.
Right.
versus when it's like our whole table about.
Not when it's all the cousins.
And then they
all
doing all
the
this.
grandmas.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, but you know, it's like, why you
Yeah.
touching this girl right now, or telling her these stories? Like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I can only imagine, because I know how I felt,
Yeah.
but I just feel like, oh my God. And some families have not changed those things.
Right.
Like, no matter how much we try.
And it is an art, because I mean, some of the responsibility I know in my family is to be able to correct or to calm, but in a place of love, because if we don't teach them,
Yeah.
you know, then we're leaving it for, and that's for all aspects of life, if they're not receiving the proper education, but then if you don't have it, don't try to give it out, but giving that to someone by being curious, like, well, it's a nice fashion choice. Tell me more about it. But creating that space, like you had said, and then the proximity, like you want to go to a cousin you never saw before.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's like
Yeah. Or like trying to do it in a way that. or trying to do it while it's everybody.
Right.
But I think it's the issue to me is when they try to embarrass you.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Like-
read the room.
Like you could do a one-on-one and do the same conversation and change it to a real question. But the whole like, we all about to eat, it's not the time to fill
Right.
this little girl up, it's not the time to ask her what kind of weight she put on, it's not the time to ask her if she gonna get married and have 18 kids. It's not the time to even ask her, and other stuff that is not your business.
Mhm.
Like,
And this is not the time to be like, my intentions weren't, because we know intention and impact are two different things. So this is the time to make it all align.
and how about you be intentional on learning before you do it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, because that always people excuse.
Yeah.
I didn't intend to hurt
Yeah, I didn't intend to hurt your feelings.
You also didn't intend not to learn before you did it though.
Right.
So
So you try to give me advice and you.
So now I gotta give
ignorant.
you. So then I gotta give you the side eye and I become disrespectful because I'm a younger person.
Right. Mhm.
Like, so now if I say anything or clap back, the young person is the one who's the
It's
issue.
rude, yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're rude, but really, auntie, you were.
Mhm.
Sorry.
So that could be a whole thing.
Facts.
Coming into your
Like,
auntie-ness.
Auntie, you were.
But becoming auntie.
That's a whole thing. That's a whole
That is the whole topic. I'm like,
Yeah.
the stages of auntie too.
Mhm. Cause it's, I mean,
I'm now
especially.
like, great aunt, leave me alone. I babysit the kids and they can do whatever they want.
Mhm.
Don't come asking me if they had treats. Yes. Did they read tonight? No.
And you can't say nothing, cause that's still your auntie.
Exactly.
You get that one. Mhm.
So that's look, that's what she writes
I'm
down.
writing it down.
Cause I'm like, look, the stages of auntie is real.
Yeah,
And
it
I'm like,
is.
you're right, I corrected earlier. Now my correction is a little bit more just about, I love you,
Mhm.
just sit with me.
Mhm.
Like, if you just need space of
Don't
love.
say no for my niece, I gotta check it on the grades.
Yeah.
But it's
Now,
not
mind you,
from,
My niece.
and that's not the
is
only
an
conversation that we're
individual
having.
conversation.
Right, yes, it's an individual conversation, and that's not the only thing I'm interested in
Yeah.
about her life. So making that also important, like you said,
Absolutely.
proximity and rapport, like even in family, just because you have a title doesn't necessarily
say
make you
that.
mean you have rapport.
Look, we trying to have this now, like, cause that
Yeah,
right.
we talk about hopelessness, let's get on it.
Cause that
But
right
yeah,
there is the whole truth, like, you
Yeah.
didn't talk to me all year, and now you got an opinion,
Mhm.
like. that ain't
About
fair.
something very
Just
personal
cause
in
you
my
older
life.
than me,
Mhm.
that's not fair at all, no,
And I'm
no,
looking
no.
at you, and you better answer.
And I think that's important, the proximity, who's around, but also the conversation and like, cause now I'm at the stage where I block people.
Mhm.
So if I see somebody coming and at that, young person that way, then I'm going, why don't you mind your business, auntie?
Mhm. Yes.
Like,
The defenders.
Yes.
That's
The
what I
defendant
say.
auntie, we gotta do a whole framework to that.
Like, that is definitely my role now, cause I will defend and correct that auntie,
Yeah.
cause she old enough to have taken, to learn that. Your self-esteem should be in shape, and if it ain't, go get that therapy that you got that insurance for, because my young folk already have enough
Yeah.
going on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, this world is, and I think a lot of people, older generations, sometimes tend to think they had it so much harder.
Right.
Always.
And as a result, you can't see the hardness of now.
Mhm.
And so for me, I'm blocking because I'm like, since you can't relate. 'cause
Right.
You forgot that you were ever a teenager
Yeah.
or a young person, then I'll block, cause it gets ridiculous.
Which is needed and necessary. We need the defendant aunties.
Completely. They make the world go around.
Mhm.
I will defend and get that auntie or feeling.
Mhm.
I go a little too far.
And we come back and check on the chick.
Are
You all right?
Right.
Look, I gotta learn not to, exactly, I gotta learn not to go too far on the auntie.
Yeah.
Gotta find
Not
my
everybody's
balance.
quiet. It's just, oh. Like,
Oh, no, I'll make a joke, so get it ready.
that's needed.
Love these turkey wings.
Anybody else get one of these? That's what we could have put on the list, turkey wings. Oh,
We just keep going.
sorry.
So now we're gonna transition to tips on ways to maintain hope throughout the holidays.
Absolutely.
And the first one is acknowledging and validating our emotions.
Mhm.
This means understanding that it's okay to feel a mix of emotions during the
Mhm.
holidays.
Yes.
And it's also important to create spaces to process the grief, the stress, or loneliness alongside the joy.
That's good.
Next,
Try not to say too much. 'cause we-
I know. Next is focusing on gratitude. So reflecting on positive moments or things that bring you happiness and using either gratitude journals or just sharing your appreciation with loved ones directly.
Agreed.
Next is setting your own realistic expectations. So letting go of the pressure for a perfect holiday, and also simplifying traditions to reduce stress and embrace what really matters
Oh, I
most.
love that.
Yeah, I love that.
Simplify.
I love
That is just always, that should be everybody's goal. I don't care how much you spend or how much you have to spend. It's just okay to not.
Yeah.
Like, let's just enjoy each other's company, maybe have a little few good times food, whatever you need, but leave it simple.
Yeah.
Like we did one year for our family, cause I have a big family, instead of like cause people buy gifts for everybody, and it's like, we was just like, everybody just pick somebody.
Yeah,
that's
we
what
did last
we did.
year.
Yeah, we did
Like
last year.
this whole,
It's
everybody
too
getting the
much.
That's
whole-
too much.
Too much.
Too much. I
And
used to
everybody's
stress.
not the same
Mhm.
financially,
Mhm.
and so that really just, and it was so much fun because we all had under a certain amount, so
Mhm.
that way everybody could, nobody had to be ridiculous.
Exactly.
And then you had to try to make sure it was something you heard them talk about or relate to who they are.
That's cool.
And so like and I still have, I mean, we don't use it because it's DVD. I got a Blade DVD because I love like Empire and all that stuff. And so my little cousin bought, and I loved that.
Yes.
Like that was worth a whole lot more than some of the
Yeah.
stuff that I've gotten that cost a lot.
No,
Yeah.
actually, and even like I remember I used to, because we did seek like the secret gifts last
Mhm.
year,
Mhm.
and I got my Polaroid, and I really wanted the Polaroid. And I'm like, if we were all doing gifts for each other, I would not have gotten that Polaroid. I would have gotten the
Mhm.
T-shirt.
Exactly, because we all gotta add up.
Yeah, you can.
I'm getting like little
Just
things that I
can't,
don't care
yeah.
for.
And you got this ring that you ain't never gonna wear. Like I don't like this, but
Some
okay.
earrings.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's ways to simplify it and
Mhm.
to still make it about celebrating and joy and all those
Yeah.
things.
Completely. All right, next we have connecting with others. So reaching out to friends, family, or community groups to combat isolation. You can even volunteer
Mhm.
or participate in events to feel a part of something bigger than yourselves.
And stressing for this one, especially during the holidays, because for me with grief, it was real hard to do it the year after my mom passed.
Mhm.
Because I was still grieving my sister, and then my mom passes within 5 years of that. And so I remember feeling like I wasn't doing anything because it just felt like too much.
Mhm.
But the following year, I was making myself do it in a way that was about loving me, because it was also becoming clear that it's an isolation tool.
Yeah.
It's not a healthy thing that I was
Yeah.
doing. It was me just trying to stay in the grief that way, because grief looks different each stage or different stages.
Yeah.
But making yourself consider opportunities to be around people who know, love you.
Yeah.
Who don't want to make you, they may not be able to make it go away, but
Right.
being with them can help bring some more joy to your day or to your week or to that time. So for me, I feel like for this one, it's important to know if you're intentionally trying to like stay away from it because it reminds you,
Mhm.
but also knowing when to introduce yourself back to some of those griefs.
Yeah.
Like, cause the reality is that if I hadn't done it, I could have that would have become the pattern.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now I'm isolated from the family who I do have left.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like they weren't like, come on, Sharea, let's go here, or let's do this. Like literally flying up so that they could see me was a sign that, all right, that I'm going too far.
Yeah.
And that was my sign. Everybody's sign is different. So I stress for this one that really try to evaluate if that grief or even caregiving is keeping you from being able to have some of the connections that keep
Absolutely.
you or bring you joy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That made me think about, I remember some years ago, I went through a breakup and it was the day before Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And typically, because I was living away from my family, I would have been alone. I would have been just like destroyed. But because it was Thanksgiving, I had to go home and I had to then confide in people and actually sit with my family for the holidays. And as much as it was difficult, I think I'm really grateful for that
Yeah.
because I was forced to, one, just embrace my community. I felt supported, and I probably wouldn't have had that if it wasn't that
Exactly.
time.
Mhm.
Like you almost it was mandatory.
Yeah.
So you had no choice. But when it's not mandatory, you gotta try to push yourself a little
Yeah.
bit when you know these things bring you some hope, some
Right.
joy.
Mhm.
Because if you start taking them out, they can easily disappear.
Yeah.
So go to the Friendsgiving.
Seriously.
Especially if you loved it all those years.
Yeah.
That good old fashioned
Bring your dish and go to the Friendsgiving.
Because those
Mhm.
breakups, those loss, they're gonna be heavy.
Mhm.
However, let other people share that load with you by even just being with you.
Mhm.
Or even like
sitting
you
with
said, the caregiving, like it's the time where you're doing so much, like if you have
Mhm.
children, you're doing so much for them and you forget, like I need a break to just breathe for a second.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next we have creating new traditions. So designing rituals that bring personal or family joy, such as gratitude jar or self-care day, and also embracing change and seeing it as an opportunity to grow. Next is practicing self-care, which we cannot say enough. So prioritizing rest, healthy eating, regular exercise during this season, and also taking time for activities that bring peace, such as reading, meditation, or other hobbies.
Absolutely, be still.
Next is giving back. So finding hope through acts of kindness, such as donating or helping those in need, and even sharing skills or time to support others and fostering a sense of purpose.
And I think that's important to remember. How you give back is relevant to what you have. So it's not all about just giving things. It can be your time as gifts, and your care for other people can be your giving.
I was gonna say that it's actually a couple that we're friends with, my husband and I, and one thing we do for each other is like during the holiday break, because our kids are all from
That's
school,
so
their kids are
true.
all from school, so we'll say like, oh, like we'll keep your kids this time so that you guys can go do something. And it's like, that's just time and sanity, but it means a lot. So instead of like giving a gift, because I mean, after a while, gifts are expensive and kids break toys. We'll say, oh, we'll keep your kids. They can play with all the toys that are already here, and you all can have a date night, or you all can just sit down and do nothing. And they do the same for us. And even my best friend, she's single, but she would also do that sometimes for like a couple who has a kid or a single parent who has a kid. Say, oh, like I'll watch your child while you go do something.
That's so needed.
Yeah.
And it means a lot.
Yeah. That is really needed.
And that's giving. Like, talk about community and support and giving.
Exactly.
You just got all of them covered at once. Because it's like, I'm showing up for you the same way you would show up for me. And it doesn't have to be about a gift money wise, because that time and that rest, because even if y'all don't do date night,
it's priceless
together.
That's
actually a good idea.
Yeah. Even with giving back, like there is donations, but even going to like a soup kitchen can be really nice, especially for Thanksgiving when we're so focused on eating. Like we eat so much, and it's like, okay, you can help others also have that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Next we have focusing on the meaning of the season. So like Sharea was saying, reconnecting with personal values or spiritual beliefs that inspire hope, and finding moments of quiet reflection to center and ground yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, because we get caught up with like the money and
You say songs pop into my head. There's some stuff I won't share.
Christmas song for That's the reason for the season for you, but understanding that is important too, to remember what the season really means for you. And not just for the material portion of it. What is the reason for you in this season? Because not everyone celebrates Christmas, but there's tons of there's so many celebrations between October to
March
to after,
because
you take a break.
Valentine's Day,
Three Kings, and then they in there, you got thrown like that all the time. So it's like your reason has to be what you remind yourself of, especially when you think about gratitude. What it doesn't mean to you to celebrate or to not celebrate.
Next, we have seeking support when needed. So reaching out to counselors, therapists, or support groups for additional help. And recognizing that asking for help is a sign of strength and not a weakness. And lastly, we have celebrating the small wins. So acknowledging small moments of joy and progress throughout the holidays and focusing on the present moments rather than dwelling on past challenges. Yeah, right?
Yes.
So to close us out, hopelessness is a natural response to compounded stress and external factors. It is really important to prioritize our well-being and also give ourselves grace during this time. It's okay to seek moments of rest and joy, even in the midst of challenges. And it's even more important to lean on trusted friends, family, or support groups during this time. If you're finding it hard to find such spaces, this could also be a good time to create your own spaces where you can really embrace your vulnerability. And of course, also utilizing the practical skills that we've discussed today, including boundary setting, practicing gratitude, and connecting with cultural and spiritual traditions. And of course, resources like therapy and other spaces where you feel whole and safe.
Oh, love it. All of that and some. Yes.
Mhm.
I think that wraps it up really well, because it's like, you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
There's things that you can do. And then always remember, like, you get to press the start button every day. Like, it doesn't have to be that yesterday was tough, today can be a new day. And tomorrow can be a newer, like, and just giving yourself that, like, compassion during this season, that you don't have to get it right. You just have to do what's best and try to keep moving forward. Like, cause I think we all are, regardless of the season, we all are just trying to be our best version of what we know.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
sometimes we don't know enough yet, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And I think as this season kind of wraps up, and because it got here so quickly, this year flew,
Seriously.
I think it's important to just remember that you did the best you could this year.
Mhm.
And in doing the best that you can, you also are enough.
Mhm.
And so you'll continue to grow, you'll continue to learn, but even if you didn't, right now, you're enough.
Yeah.
Like, because we won't be seeing them until the new year.
Yeah, I believe so.
So make sure you take care of yourself
Yeah,
in preparation of the new year.
which goes right into the bonus tips.
Yes, drink your water, sis.
Yeah.
Move your body for at least 30 minutes a day. We don't tell you what to do, but just make some good movement. Eat your food. Look, no, I'm about to tell y'all to eat a balanced diet and make sure you're incorporating the good things for your body, like vegetables, fruits, nuts, all that good stuff, especially during the holidays. We can get off track, but don't beat ourselves up. Just remember that we can get back on track, even if it's the day after or some days after, whatever that means.
It's leftovers.
Find the time to meditate, to be mindful, and to make sure that you're present with your spirituality, whatever that looks like, right? You were singing Jesus is the reason for singing. So if that looks like prayer, and for one person, meditation for another, it still connects you to a higher power and also a belief that you have. Also, it could be believing in yourself, right? Whatever that looks like, do it, because if you don't, you're still not helping your wellness. And then last, oh wait, no, gotta make sure you get your vitamin D. It's getting darker earlier for most of us, depending on where you live. So making sure that you're finding ways to maximize or get vitamin D. You can get it through some foods as well, but making sure that you're increasing that element of getting out and taking walks or getting out into the sun as much as possible. Last but not least, self-compassion I already talked about, but I want to end it on joy, because joy. That's right, it is the season, right? And so when we think about joy, sometimes we are talking holidays and larger things, but sometimes we forget to just be mindful of the things that bring us joys, like friendships, love, and family, and just the things that also every single day remind us that it's worth it.
Yeah.
Don't discount them just because there's not some hope in other areas. You have hope in each other.
Yeah.
And so I feel like joy is one of those things that we need to remind ourselves that we're worth living. So keep doing and keep living.
Completely. That was great. And now we can go into what are we grateful for?
Now we are. Now we got a song. I got a song. You got a song. All right. I am grateful for a wonderful, wonderful team. And when I say it, I don't just mean it like, oh, our team is good, but I feel like we found what I feel is good in terms of the expectation of community impact, but also just good people. And so I think that for me this year has been solidified by even staying connected with those who may not be with us in a sense, but are still a part of our team.
Yeah.
And so I am grateful for each of you individually, but also as a whole. I think we have a good magic. So grateful for my team.
It's similar. I echo. I'm grateful for community, and it's like at work, I feel really like held. At home, I feel really held. With my friends, I feel really held. So I think holidays for me is a time of reflecting on like who's around me, what I've come across like throughout the year, and just grateful for life and community.
I'm grateful for community as well, and also change. I'm grateful that because I used to be so afraid of change, but now understanding that change is necessary for growth and to walk into bigger and better things. So I'm grateful.
And I think on that, we wish everyone bigger and better things. I think we can do one round of affirmations, just go strong or go home. So I'll let y'all go, so I'm gonna think real strong with this last one, and it gotta be around hope. Let's see if we can do it around hope.
Okay.
Just one, we gotta just do one, let's see.
I welcome the possibility of joy, no matter how small, into my life this holiday season.
I will hope without the burden of past, say, delays or feelings.
Will show myself compassion, rest, resilience, and therefore it is hope. There we go.
Beautiful.
Great.
So happy New Year, everyone.
Absolutely. New season.
New season.
Yes.
Take good care of yourselves during this time, and we will see you in the new year.
Yeah, 2025.
2025. Y'all be well. That is so crazy.
That is crazy.